Hello everybody, hope you're well. Welcome to my channel. I'm the Cotswolds girl and I am here bringing love and joy and a bit of a Sunday chit chat about all sorts of different things. If you haven't watched my channel before, I run a bit of a blog about some lifestyle stuff, but also, sort of childhood stuff that I've been through that potentially, I guess a lot of people sort of go through in their lives, sort of how I've dealt with it, how I've moved through it, and any sort of tips and tricks that I've learned along the way that might be able to help. So yeah, so this is just going to be a bit of a Sunday chit chat and leading on from my short that I did earlier this week. And I do apologise if my glasses seem to be reflecting some sort of weird shadow thing that's making my eyes look like I'm a robot. I am not a robot. But yeah, so this week has been a particularly difficult week. I've been dealing with, as we all know, it was Mental Health Awareness Week this week, and male mental health in particular. And I had some pretty bad news on Friday that one of my friends from back home, who I'd spent a lot of time with growing up in my 20s, literally he was part of a group that I'd spend, pretty much every weekend with, and midweek we'd catch up and do things. So, a very, very close friend. And, unfortunately he took his own life. And it really threw me, because as I've said in some previous videos, I've had 4 men in my life over the years who have done the same sort of thing, and it just again threw me through an absolute loop, and on the back of one of my close girlfriends having passed away from cancer earlier this year. And it really sort of got me thinking. And, Friday was pretty bad. I had to sort of do a lot of self-love things to sort of pull myself out of it, but also sort of sit with the grief a little bit, and sort of reflect on that. I think when I put my short together earlier this week, I was sort of sitting there in that grief, and I was thinking to myself, do you know what, Lisa, you haven't seen him for, a number of years. It's, would he have even known what you were doing? Would he have even been interested? Would his reaction have been the same if it had been me? And there was all this sort of negative dialogue in my head in and around that. And I sat back and thought about that for a while. And I thought, do you know what? When someone makes a huge impact in your life, when you've been through a lot of life experiences with someone, whether you've grown up, sorry, I've got an itchy nose, whether you've grown up with them, through, sort of your junior formative years, whether it was, in your mid-20s when, you were starting to discover who you were and become an adult and, do all of these things. I don't think that friendship really ever leaves you. I don't think the love for that person ever leaves you, even if you don't see them for a while, if you haven't, you haven't had much contact or whatnot. I don't think that ever changes. And I think that's what makes us human. Unless, you've had a massive falling out or there's been some issues. I don't think that, it's part of who I am, those experiences, and part of my fond memories growing up, and it's formed who I am. It's formed part of my personality. It's formed, part of the woman I am today. And I don't think that can be discounted. Even if I hadn't seen this person for quite some time, those wonderful memories and those wonderful experiences have made up who I am today, and I look back on that very, very fondly. And so, grief can sort of come in different forms, but I don't think that it should ever be something that you say, oh, well, you shouldn't be feeling that, or, you know, you know, what right do you have to be upset or anything like that? That's absolute garbage. Because everyone that crosses your path makes an impact. And and I sat back and thought about this guy, and he was just so funny. He was the life of the party. His his nickname was the Big Cheese, or Cheese Bot, and we were always going to the cricket. They were formed part of, part of a group of friends centred around that sport. He was very well known within the cricketing community, and it was just so much fun. Like, I remember New Year's Eve's parties where we'd be sitting out the back on and it was 35 degrees, a group of us all sitting around with eskies and singing at the top of our lungs and just having really, really good fun. And they're the sort of things that I remember of him, and I look back on that time with fond memories because of it, and that's what makes me happy. So after sitting in the grief for a little bit and sort of denying and not believing it or anything like that, I actually started to say to myself, do you know what? Every sadness, everything that we can see that might be something difficult, or you could have that has like negative overtones or anything, sit back and think what actually on the other side of the coin could be positive about it. And look, it's very, very, very difficult in these circumstances to try and get anything positive out of a tragedy like this. Like, it is so difficult. But I tasked myself with it, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna sit back and think about this. And for me, what hit home is that I was so grateful to have such a good friend during that period of my life, where, if you went out to a local pub and he was there, he was the first to come up and give you a big hug, and, guy, girl, whatever, he was a very loyal friend. And some of the best moments, going to the cricket and being around in Adelaide, involve him. Some of the best New Year's Eve parties involved him. His 21st was a dress-up party where I went as Jackie O, and that was really good fun. Even when it came to even winning some cricket premierships, and I was one of the wags. We went back into the change rooms after, and just having so much fun, and he was a massive part of that, and I'm so thankful for that. And he made that, and that's made me a better person, and it's formed who I am. And so I'm really, really thankful that he was part of my life. And him not being with us anymore is a tragedy. It really is. The world is not a better place without him. It's worse. Sorry, it's just gets a bit. I think that there will be a lot of processing, and there will be, especially for all of that very tight-knit group of friends back home, there will be a lot of hurt, there will be a lot of questioning, there will be a lot of emotions, and I'm sending positive vibes back to everyone, because I know how devastating it will be. But for me, I think that unfortunately this happens too often. It happens to people that you might not necessarily think that it would. Awareness is such a key thing, and like me, I know that over the past sort of couple of weeks I've posted a few pictures of me, with that pink hoodie on, you are enough, and you know, sending out positive messages for men's mental health. I don't think it's spoken about enough. I think it needs to be. There's got to be no stigma in reaching out to seek advice from people who you know are in your support network. It's so important that you do that, because the world is always going to be a better place with you in it. And I say that hand on heart, it is always a better place with you in it. Sorry. So out of all the grief, I choose to think about the happiness. And I would task everyone who's been through something or is going through something that, you know, it's really tough to try and see a positive side. It's tough to try and, you know, find goodness in tragedy. It's one of the most difficult things you'll ever have to try and do. But I challenge you to try, because out of that, if anything's going to put a smile on your face, that will. And I'm sure that, you know, it will make, if nothing else, it will give you some inner peace about everything. But also, and I'm sure that this is the case here, that, you know, he wouldn't want people to be caught up in the grief and the emotion. He'd want people to be thinking about all of the happiness and all of the joy, and all of the really fun times, and all of the, you know, cricket club songs, and, you know, all of the happier moments that that he brought and was a part of. So this is not a Debbie Downer story. This is a positive one, and for anyone that, as I said, is going through anything that is difficult, just even if it's one thing that you can try and think on the other side of the coin, think about, okay, it might be, you know, and I've spoken about this before, it might be pregnancy loss. And again, how do you ever find anything positive to come out of that, ever? But it might be, and this is what my husband and I did when, you know, we went through it, is we sat back and thought, okay, we're devastated, we're really sad, but what is the positive outcome of this? Okay, well, one positive for us was that, okay, it gives us a little bit more time now to do a little bit more planning. It gives us a little bit more time to be able to get the house ready. It gives us a bit of time to sit back and think, okay, if we don't have children, would this be the worst thing in the world? And when we thought about that, we were actually grateful, and it was something, it gave us time to then reflect and think about different things, and that helped us make it through. And it was just, yeah, it helped us make our way. So all I would say is that whatever is happening, whatever's going on out there, please always challenge yourself to find the positive in it. Whenever a door closes, a window opens. I think that was the Sound of Music, wasn't it? Something like that. But it's absolutely true. And there's always going to be something that comes out of it that you can take away some sort of energy from. And I'd challenge everyone to do that. So anyway, that's been my week. I've got my little puppies here. I'll try and show you them. There they are, sitting down there, listening to me rabbit on. It's a bit of a horrible day outside today, so they're probably in the best place. I think my husband and I, we're just going to sit down and read some books. It's just an absolute time luxury that on a Sunday where it's drizzling and raining, that we really like to do. I was actually going to show you a couple of books that I'd just read recently, but I probably don't have time for that today. But I will do another couple of videos coming up over the course of this week, which I'll show you some of the books that I've read. I'll show you a few things that have sort of come through on through some brand ambassador work that I've been doing, including these. These are so beautiful. So citrine, jade and celestite. I'm really sort of getting into the sort of crystals and, you know, alternative empowering things. So I'll definitely say more on that next video, but yeah, so I'm sort of exploring a few of these different things as well. One thing that I'm also very, very keen to do is start giving you a bit of almost sort of like a bit of an insight into some of the stuff I get excited about on the history front, because I'm a mad history fan. And so I've been doing a bit of research and I'm thinking about writing a book, and I'll give you a bit of insight into that. But I might do like a fun facts or something, whatever. But look, I really, really appreciate you subscribing. I really want to build this community because I'm really passionate about building a community of positivity and where people are there for each other and people can talk openly about things, because literally we are all in this together. And unfortunately, we live this life and it's all too short, as we all know. But to be able to be here and to be able to support one another, I think is hugely, hugely important. So anyway, sending you lots and lots of love this week. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful few days until I see you again next. Big old hugs. Kiss your loved ones. Let them know you love them. And until next time, I will see you soon. Mwah.